My name is Brooke, and I'm a mother of 6. Our third child, Matthew, has asthma. He's 11 years old, as well as our 6th child, Graham, is showing initial signs of asthma at this point. He's about 2.5. So when we first learned about Matthew's diagnosis, it felt incredibly overwhelming. We were given this list of medications and machines. We needed a nebulizer, a list of many things that we needed, but the information was incredibly overwhelming. We felt like we had pieces of a puzzle, basically, and we had no idea how to put that puzzle together. And I remember looking for resources online. What is a nebulizer and how do you use it? Or what does an asthma cough sound like versus an illness cough? And I had a long list of questions and couldn't find the resources that I needed to kind of put that whole picture together. So I remember it just felt like a whole world that I was discovering that I didn't understand, and I really needed someone that I could talk to about it. And we happened to have a friend that moved into our congregation at church. And I approached her and said, I've got questions about asthma, and I've heard that you have a child with asthma. And I remember she came to my house one night and she brought a stethoscope that she had, and she just taught me basics about asthma that I had never understood before. She talked to me about how to listen to Matthew's lungs, and suddenly I had a friend that I could say, isn't this the worst? And really kind of open up about what I was experiencing and feeling, and it felt like this new network in my life of communication and help that I hadn't had before, that I was really grateful for. I remember one night in particular with Matthew where he just honestly couldn't catch a breath, and I had no frame of reference for if that was typical or if that was life-threatening. And I remember thinking, what do I do? There's no one but me in this moment. You know, obviously we could take him to an ER, but that feeling of panic and fear and aloneness is something that I wouldn't wish on anyone to go through as you're learning this new language of an illness. And I can take myself back to that night immediately and the feelings of panic and fear for the life of one of my kids. And fast forward, you know, a couple of years later, the problem is still there, but because I have a network of friends to communicate with, the problem feels different, even though it's still the same. I feel supported. I feel like rather than having to explain myself to a friend, like, do you know what it feels like to feel terrified for your child's life? I can say to a friend that is struggling with the same thing, oh, we had a really bad night last night and Matthew's doing better, but it was a long night. And that friend immediately knows what I've experienced, and they'll ask educated questions like, well, how often has he been using his rescue inhaler? Or is he on prednisone now? What additional things is he being treated with? And that connection with friends has made such a lift. Even though the problem is still there, the problem feels different for me. Another thing that we have found, even just in creating our own tiny little network, is that we will gain insights and ideas that we have never before thought of or even found online. Our doctors tend to tell us the exact same thing every time we go in. Try these 2 things, and if they don't work, then you should probably call the ER or, you know, seek serious medical intervention. But through our couple of friends, we found ideas on, well, have you tried eliminating additional triggers? Or have you tried to change all of your fabrics? Or, you know, things that we have never thought of before that mothers who know have brought into my life just from those couple of friends that I have found that have really made a big difference for Matthew. Brochures and pamphlets feel like I am searching through a vast old school world encyclopedia on the topic of asthma with maybe 1 or 2 little ideas within, versus a network of friends that is current, it's active information that has been life-changing for me.